Find out all the latest news. Let's go Rangers.
Blueshirt Underground, motherfucker!
Can't be as a Ranger fan. Can't be as a Ranger fan.
This is an unlawful gathering. This is an unlawful gathering. The truth is out there. The truth is out there.
This is the underground. This is new media. This is the underground. This is new media.
Ranger fans, report to the critical thinking hangar. Ranger fans, report to the critical thinking hangar.
And now here is the starting lineup for the New York Rangers. And now here is the starting lineup for the New York Rangers.
This is New York Rangers hockey. 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 This is New York Rangers.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Blueshirt Underground show with Jim and Eddie. My name is Jim. Today is Monday. It is October the 5th. Normally, we'd be getting ready for hockey season to start. Instead, it's just ended. And who knows when it'll be back. The Tampa Bay Lightning are your COVID Cup, Corona Cup champions. And now we have headed into the offseason. Tomorrow night is the NHL Draft. The Rangers, for the first time in their history, have the number one overall pick. We are going to preview the draft with Steve Kournianos. He will be along in just a few minutes. You will notice that there is no one on the other side of the window. Eddie was a late, semi-healthy scratch. He's not feeling well tonight. He jumped on with me, and then a few minutes before we went live, he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well." He's like, "Can you carry on without me?" So that's what we'll do. We will carry on without Eddie tonight. Unfortunately, it'll be just me, which means a lot of filler until Steve gets here. I think Joe Catroni will probably jump on at some point, so he'll join me. He'll ride shotgun tonight with me. Good evening to all of you. I hope that we can avoid some of the technical difficulties that we had last week. I guess we'll see once we bring Steve on. I bitched out Be Live as soon as we were done last week. And, you know, of course, they asked me all the standard questions. What's your internet connection? You know, they always want to blame. Same thing with Blog Talk Radio. Same thing. First, they want to blame you. Hello, Johnny. Good to see you, the great Johnny Prestano. Sean, no comment. No comment. So Be Live, of course, you know, they asked, are you hardwired, which I am. Did you test your internet connection, which I always do? Did you clean out your Chrome? Did you get rid of your cookies? And nobody can clear out cookies better than I can. So then they said, well, you know, were your guests on Wi-Fi? You know, I'm like, come on, we've done this like 200 times. I'm like, we know what we're doing here. I'm like, the problem was Be Live. It wasn't with us. So we'll see. Hopefully things will be better tonight. There's a Facebook group for Be Live. And in case you don't know what Be Live is by now, it's the platform that we use to broadcast to you on YouTube and Facebook. And there's a Facebook group for people that broadcast on Be Live. And I did see that some other people had some issues last week. So hopefully they've got it corrected. We'll be good to go tonight. And we'll get to Steve in just a minute. If you don't follow him on Twitter, make sure you do. He's at the Draft Analyst. We've got his 2020 NHL Draft Report, which is $5 off his website. Let me tell you, this is $1,000 worth of information. It's 306 pages. Everything you want to know about the NHL draft is in this draft report. We'll go over some of it with Steve. We'll talk about I don't think there's any mystery as to who the Rangers are picking first, but we can get into who the Rangers will pick with that 22nd pick. I know Steve did a mock draft. We'll talk about who he thinks the Rangers will, or who he predicts the Rangers will pick at number 22. Yes, Mike Akers got it. Eddie unfit to play. That's all they're saying. That's the only word we've gotten from the report. Just a quick check with the chat room. Can everybody hear me okay? Everything, we sound okay. No double audio. I'm not over modulated, not too loud. I tried to get all that right before we went live tonight. So if something's wrong, let me know in the chat. See, there's a jam-packed chat room here already. Welcome to all of you. Adam Bartolo is here. Jack is here. Jerkins Perkins is here. John Riggs, Patty Duke. Of course, my lovely bride-to-be, Jen Eberhard, is here. The great Rock is here. Rock, tried getting on Be Live. I had no sound. I saw you there, Rock, but you looked, I mean, I could see you. I couldn't hear you, but I usually can't hear you until I bring you on. So I don't know if there was a problem. Glad everybody can hear me. Sounds perfect. Thank you, dear. Paul Gaduzzi can hear me perfectly, and he's all the way down in Philadelphia, so I must be coming through loud and clear. So I have a question for the chat before we get into the draft. There's been a little speculation. What's up, Andrew? How you doing? Good to see you. Todd McGonnell's here. What's going on? A little speculation that the Washington Capitals may be interested in former New York Ranger, Henrik Lundqvist. I guess as a backup. That's yes, Murph. Hello to Dan Murphy's here. What's up, Murph? Thin, sexy, 00. There's some rumors that the Washington Capitals might be interested in Henrik Lundqvist. If Henrik Lundqvist signs with the Washington Capitals as a backup goaltender, how does that change how you feel about Henrik Lundqvist? Does that change how you think about him going forward? I know everybody says, "Oh, I want to see him go get his cup somewhere." Do you really want to see Henrik Lundqvist go win a cup with the Washington Capitals? Be honest. You could say there's no wrong answer. I'm just curious what the chat room is thinking. Me personally, it'd be very hard to see him in a Washington Capitals jersey. Very difficult. I don't want to see him anywhere in the metrosexual division, but that's just me. Now, I saw Steve was in the studio, and now he's gone. So Eklund says the Devils are going hard for Hank. Okay, well, that means he's definitely not going to the Devils. So so I'm curious. So John Perkins says no, that won't change. Hank wants to win. Okay, so the now, Rock, I don't know if you haven't been on with us a while. If you take the link, the guest link, and you just paste that in a Safari browser, and it'll bring you in. I don't know if you're trying to get in through the app, but you don't need the Be Live app anymore to join the show. Brett Anderson says same as me. I'd rather not see him in the Metro. I don't want to see him in the Metro division. First of all, I don't want to see him 4 times a year, and I don't want him to play on a team we hate. I hate the Capitals. I don't want to have to see him come out there in that jersey, that ugly red jersey. I don't want to see him hugging Ovi after a goal. All right. Let's bring on Rock real quick. Let's see how we're doing here. Here comes Rock. I can hear him.
Yeah,
What's
I can hear you now. I tried getting on before and I had no sound, so I was like, I just kept
playing.
Were
you trying through the app, or were you trying?
I was trying. I'm on my phone. I'm trying through the I guess through the app. I'm not sure.
Okay. Because you don't need the app anymore. Now you can just paste the link in your Safari browser.
Yeah, I honestly, Jim, I think that's what I did. I actually just clicked the link that you posted. It took me to the screen, and yeah, for whatever reason, I had no sound before. So, but now I do, which is good.
And I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I've heard other people, one being Matthew Barnaby, had trouble just clicking the link. You're actually supposed to copy and paste it into the browser. Which I did tell Matthew Barnaby 4 times before he came on the air, and then he messages me, "Hey, I can't get on the air. I'm clicking the link and it's not working." And I'm just, I should have known right then that Matthew Barnaby was going to be a problem.
Well, too many concussions, too many hits to the head, too many fights.
But then he copied and pasted, and everything was just fine for the 15 seconds he was here.
Hey, you know what? They don't know what they're missing. That's all I know.
Exactly.
They don't know what they're missing.
I see him tweeting. He was tweeting all day yesterday about who he bets on for football, and I'm just like, I'm just sitting there. I just want to tweet. I hope you lose every goddamn bet.
Oh, that's great.
But I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that to Jen.
Hey, listen,
I
we all
wouldn't do
have
that to
heroes.
her.
Listen, I heard Messier's one of my favorite Rangers of all time, and I heard he's a horrible person when you meet him on the street, or he doesn't like to sign autographs. So it's just the way
I've
it
heard
is
that
sometimes.
too. Yeah, I've heard that too. But what do you know? One of my favorite is Lawrence Taylor, and I've heard people say that he's an absolute jerk when you meet him, and I've heard people say that he's fantastic when you meet him. So
I guess you got to
it's
meet
like
him at
anybody
the right
else.
time.
It's like anybody else. Everybody has bad days. They have bad moods, and you just never know.
Yeah, no, you're right.
What do you got? Are you at a daycare?
I have my puppy.
Is that the dog?
Yeah, he's driving me crazy with this one toy that he loves. So he keeps wanting to play. I just got home from work, so I figured I'm on dog duty right now, giving the wife a little time, little R&R.
No problem.
So
dog's cute.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about Eddie. Hope he's all right.
Yeah, I hope so too. He's okay. Just a little stomach bug going around.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is. This
So-
weather change is brutal. Like, you don't know how to dress. One day you leave with shorts on. The next day you leave with sweats. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's 35 degrees when I get up in the morning. By the middle of the day, it's 75 degrees.
Yeah, and you're sweating your ass off. So I hear you. But no, listen, I'm excited. I'm very anxious to hear what Steve has to say, and I'm a very knowledgeable guy. I listened to him on his podcast. I'll tell you, he doesn't hold anything back, which is what I love about him. He's hardcore New York. He admits he's a big diehard Ranger fan.
Right.
But his knowledge of the prospects is second to none, and he gives you very in depth and on everybody, not just the Canadian and the U.S. players, but the European players. He's a very knowledgeable guy. So
yeah,
I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
In the past, Steve has sent me his draft report when he was coming on. He usually sent me a copy to look at. And I'd look at the first couple of pages and I'd just take a look at it. But this year I went on his website a couple of days before he came on last week. I was like, he didn't send me one. I'll just buy it. So I bought it. And I'm like, holy shit, this thing's 306 pages. I mean, this is it's really something.
He's in depth.
So,
I mean, it's fascinating how much time he puts into it. It really is. He really does a really thorough job. I mean, what do you think? You think they're keeping that 22nd pick?
We talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I had forgotten that they had no second round pick. And I said that I thought they would trade that second pick in the first round. But with no second round pick, I'm not as sure. Because by the time you start getting into the third and fourth and fifth rounds, it's a lot more of a crapshoot to find a guy that's going to eventually play for you. I don't know. I mean, I think anything's possible.
I mean,
Steve is here, so I'll ask him.
Okay. All right. I'll let you go. I'll talk to you later. I'll
sure?
get off and I'll listen. Well, I don't want to.
Right.
Steve's there.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Rock.
Later.
All right. Take it easy. All right. So here we go. We're going to welcome in Steve Kournianos. He is the draft analyst. He makes his triumphant return. Thanks for coming back, Steve. We apologize for the nonsense last week. Hopefully everything will be okay tonight. How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Well, it's just Guy tonight. Eddie couldn't make it. He's not feeling well.
No.
So it's just me and you.
All right. Let's do it.
I think Joe Catroni might come on. I texted him and he had said that he wanted to come on and ask you some questions. And then I messaged him when Eddie was bowed out, and I said, "Hey, can you jump on and ride shotguns?" And he said yes. So he should be along shortly too.
All right,
so
good deal. I missed Joe. I haven't seen him in a while.
I looked at this draft report, and I'm hyping this thing as much as I can. I'm encouraging everybody to go to your website and pick this thing up. It's 306 pages, thousands of dollars of information in this thing, Steve. It is absolutely amazing. How long does it take you to put this together?
Well, listen, I don't mind revealing my trade secrets, I guess. Like, I watch games, right? Usually on my MacBook, and I have like notes open, and I just write the notes as I watch the game. So if you do that 2 to 3, 4 times a day, eventually you just start cutting, pasting pieces and putting it into 5 or 6 games worth of notes. The biggest issue I have isn't the reports on how the players play. It's the frickin' formatting. It's like, maybe I'm old school. I'm a graybeard and I still use Microsoft Word to do all this crap. and I've had a horrible relationship with Microsoft Word since like the early 90s. And I keep going back.
I think
to
everybody
it.
has.
It's like a toxic girlfriend, but has only 1 or 2 redeeming qualities, and you just keep going back to her. And so anyway, yeah, it's like I think I cried for the first time in 5 years making this freaking thing because it deleted my file, and I had to like recover it. I think I wrote like 50 scan reports in like a 2-day period, and then it deleted. So I had to redo it all over again. But yeah, it's a monster. My wife doesn't like it. I think my daughter, I caught her. I walked into the kitchen the other day to get a drink, and I heard her tell my wife, "I hate draft season." And then she looked at me like, she got her hands caught in the cookie jar. And I said, "It's okay. I hate it too." So, it's even. But yeah, no, it's really, I do it because I just got sick and tired of not being able to find information on these kids. And so the first one I did had like maybe 100. The second one I did had 150. The next one I did had about 250. And then this one had 376. So, this is what I do. This is, how I help inform people. And I hope people enjoy it. I hope they get something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. I'm going to bring Joe is here, so I'm going to bring Joe in real quick.
Joey Bag of Donuts.
What's up, boys?
Joe?
What's up, Steve? How are you, pal?
Good. How you guys doing?
Thanks for coming on here.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
In for Eddie. Appreciate it. We were just talking about Steve's draft report and getting into it. So, Steve, I know I'm looking at your mock draft here, and you have the Rangers picking 20 with the second pick in the first round. Obviously, you have them taking Lafreniere with the first pick. So, if you want to, why don't you give us your take on Lafreniere before we get into the other picks? Since I think everybody's
Well, just to kind of like set everybody at ease, there's a great source, a great resource in the hockey world. His name's John Howden, aka the Mayor. He covers the LA Kings. He's as tapped in with that organization better than any blogger, any writer I've ever met. At least since I started doing this a couple years back. And he actually broke the story that the Kings are in fact going to take Quentin Byfield. They're not taking Stutzler. So I'd like to think that knowing that the Kings are so committed to Byfield, then that means that the Rangers are that committed to Lafreniere. So, we've talked about the kid a bunch of times. Really, he's just a special player. I just love the fact that he's got a very high level of competitiveness. He really cares. How many times have we seen guys, whether they were signed here or they were drafted here, we always had issues with whether it was their work ethic or, you're not going to have any of those issues. So, how many points is he going to score? I don't know. I mean, I guess we could all say 40 points in his rookie year, 60 points. But when you dominate the junior hockey circuit the way that he did, it's just a matter of time. It's like law of averages. Like when the elite kids dominate like that, like Nathan McKinnon and Steve Stamkos and John Tavares and Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid, he's going to do it in the NHL. And I don't have any concerns about his confidence. He's an incredibly coachable kid. I think he's willing to take a back seat until he deserves to be a top line or a top 6 player. So there's so many things to love about this kid beyond just the puck skills. A lot of these kids in junior hockey could score, have 10 scoring chances a game and have 4 or 5 point nights. But, it's a shame we never got a chance to really see him play in, let's say, a drive for the Memorial Cup, because that's where the stakes are incredibly high. I mean, we saw it with the World Junior Championship. And that Americans, we really don't understand that. That's like all March Madness. And so with Canadians, it's like a boyhood dream of these kids to not just be invited to go play at the World Juniors, but to put on a show. And he was the MVP of the tournament. So he could perform on the big stage. He's a great teammate. He's got a great attitude. He's enthusiastic. He's not boring at all. And I think give him a couple of years, he's going to start really coming out. His personality, his sense of humor, things like that. He's actually a pretty funny kid if you get to hear him. And right now he's saying all the right things, but eventually he'll be able to relax a little bit once he's an NHL regular.
And you could tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I think another important thing about this kid is nobody has to worry about this kid adjusting to life in North America, which I think has been a little bit of a problem for the last 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no problem with that. I mean, he's from He's from, I guess a place called Saint Eustache. I mean, it's close to Ottawa, I think. It's also close to Montreal, like somewhat maybe equidistant. And he's not like going to be shocked. And I think mentally he was preparing to play for Montreal. Can you imagine that? When you see that the Canadiens are one of the worst teams in the league and they're going to be a lottery team, you have to mentally prepare as a prospect that you might play for your hometown team, and the pressure would have been immense to do that. So I think in a way, I'm just speculating here, but I think when he heard New York, he was like, all right, if I could deal with Montreal, if I'm mentally prepared for Montreal, which can be a mess. We all know that. I mean, playing in Montreal is very difficult, probably the most difficult market to play in, more so than Toronto, in my opinion. Because literally everybody is up, 24/7.
Right.
And the fact that he was entertaining that idea, I don't see the problem that he's going to be in New York. I don't think we have to worry about. He's not the kind of kid that you worry about him maybe getting mixed up in the wrong crowd or maybe not focusing on hockey. He's a rink rat. He's a student of the game, and it's just a matter of time, like I said before, he becomes the kind of player that we've been begging for years. We love Henrik, but he's a goalie. We've never had that skater, right? Moose he was ours, but he was the first Edmonton Oiler. Brian Leach, I think, was the closest thing we ever got to a pure superstar, at least in modern times. I go back before that, but he's going to be a fan favorite. I will definitely have no problem giving Dolan whatever he wants for a ticket at MSG to see this kid play whenever they let us back in.
Right. You talk about playing in Montreal. The draft that I covered for Blueshirt Banner in 2009 when the Rangers drafted Chris Kreider was in Montreal. Montreal with it was either the 17th or 18th pick. They drafted a kid from Montreal whose name Louis. I'll never forget it.
Louis LeBlanc.
Yeah.
And the place went absolutely ballistic because they 20,000 Canadian fans just going crazy for this kid because he was from Montreal. And I've always, through the years, I've always checked in because I never really heard another thing about him. I think he played 8 games in Montreal and went to the KHL. So it just didn't work out for him.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
So yeah, well, that's good. I just hopefully he can handle everything. It sounds like he can. I see the only thing you have that he needs improvement on is that he has a history of throwing dangerous elbows.
Yeah, so if you want to talk about, he's definitely not a clean player.
Basically, he wears the right number.
He's going to wear the right number. Yeah, I mean,
bigger elbow thrower than a guy named Mark Messi.
Maybe he could get number 11 tattooed on his arm or something. But now listen, with the Quebec League, they made an announcement they're getting rid of fighting or fighting. Basically, if you get into 2 fights, you do 10 years in county jail. If you look at someone the wrong way, you have to write a 5,000-word book report. I don't know, but in any event, he had no problem. I'm pretty sure that his coaching staff told him, "Hey, tone it down a little bit." He's like, "Nope, I'm not toning it down." And he was delivering huge hits. He delivered it at prospect events. He did it in the national tournaments and in the Quebec League. So he's not going to have a lot of friends as far as opponents go. He's the kind of guy that's going to really get under an opponent's skin, and so you got to keep out for that. You got to look out. You don't want to become a marked man, I guess, in a physical kind of way. But again, if that makes him happy, if that's how he feels he can impact shifts when he's not scoring, and that's going to happen. It's not like he's going to be putting up 2 points a game right off the bat in the NHL. There's going to be an adjustment period, and the opponent's got to look out. I mean, we saw Crosby do that when he first came in. It was definitely on the dirty side. But I don't consider Lafreniere like a diver or a complainer or anything like that. I think he'll mash you and then be like, whatever. All right, 5 minutes. Okay, I'll do my 5. That's it.
I'm looking over the scouting report. Give us a little bit on his two-way game.
Well, here's the thing about the two-way game. I think when it comes to top scorers in the junior level, I don't even care about the two-way game. You know what I'm saying? If you want to surround, if you want to create an environment where checking and coverage is at the forefront, then you surround a guy like that with those guys. You know what I'm saying? Wayne Gretzky, I'm not comparing to Gretzky. I'm just saying Gretzky, Crosby. Remember all the years where people would complain that Crosby doesn't kill penalties. He doesn't really, back check. And then eventually he reinvented himself to where he was a ferocious back checker and even got some Selke consideration. So listen, he's always thinking offense. He wants to push the pace, head up ice. but he does support down low. So you're never going to really consider him the kind of guy who's going to be providing blanket coverage. He's always thinking about offense. So inside the defensive zone, when he's off the puck, you can kind of see he hangs out high near the line. He keeps his feet moving. He's always turning and starting and stopping. So it's not like he's lazy or cherry picking. And if his support is needed, he'll drop down below. He'll throw his weight around. But I definitely would not consider him like some type of shutdown type. He did kill penalties, but a lot of these junior kids, when they kill penalties, when they're the top guys, they do it to score. I mean, the coach wants to have a scoring chance developed at least when they're down a man. So if people want to criticize him for that, if they want to, focus on a couple of games where he was maybe floating a little bit, I don't care, man. The kid was 2 points a game in the Canadian Hockey League, 2-time CHL Player of the Year. Like, let someone else do the checking for him. Let the defenseman be like, all right, well, I guess he's looking to do a play, head the other way. So let me not activate and let me back up a little bit and to protect him. It's an easy fix.
Okay. So getting into the Rangers are picking also, they have the 22nd pick, which was acquired in the Brady Shea trade with Carolina. Do you expect them to make that pick? Or do you see them,
the only reason why I wouldn't is because they don't have a second. And so there are a couple of teams with multiple seconds. I think Montreal might even have 4. So because of that, it's reasonable to believe that the Rangers have been offered a package deal involving picks for that 22nd overall pick. Now, remember, I don't know what the Rangers draft board looks like. They could be absolutely in love with a guy that none of us are aware of. Well, we're aware of his presence, but we don't know that the Rangers are in love with his game or have him ranked high on their board. So, but considering the fact that they paid a lot, they paid a high price to get this pick. We could critique Brady Shea's game all you want, but he was a good soldier. He was a first-round pick. He did a lot of good things for the organization. So maybe this sounds corny a little bit, but I would like to at least honor the memory of Brady Shea by getting a first-round pick for him, because I think he was worth a first-round pick. He was that good of a defenseman. And when you trade down, then you run the risk of you decrease the chance of getting an impact player more and more the further you move down. And so,
right.
So I'm not a fan of doing that, especially when it comes to a team like the Rangers, who technically is still rebuilding. They're not a playoff team yet. That playing round was not the playoffs. And the way the Carolina tossed them around proved that. Right. I think that it's the kind of, if you're building a team and you have a chance to get a center, whether it's a center to, line up alongside Lafreniere, or it's a center to tap into Kako's strengths or Kravtsov's strengths. The center quality in this draft isn't all that deep. But there's like a block. There's a block of centers in that the teens to like the high 20s. And a lot of those kids are going to be gone by the time the Rangers are picking. If they don't pick a center there, then you run the risk of overdrafting and saying, well, we love this kid. He was high on our board, so we drafted 22. When the reality was that, or we drafted him at like 34, 48, when the reality was that they really wanted the kids at 22. So I would definitely recommend not trading it and just, improve your chances of acquiring an impact player who could play the center ice position.
Okay. And which leads us to, in your mock draft, you have the Rangers selecting, I'm going to butcher this name, but that's okay. So will Sam eventually.
Kusnedinov.
Marat Kusnedinov?
That's him. Yeah, they better draft him. I'm telling you right now. Usually I'm pretty open-minded, but I've been pumping this kid's ties for a long time. A couple of us have been, really since the beginning of the season, because he's played for the Russian under-18 team. And so he was at the Ivan Holinka tournament that August. He was at the World Junior A Challenge. And the one thing I liked about the World Junior A Challenge, I'll talk about his club stats and his club role in a minute, but at that World Junior A Challenge, usually it's a U20 tournament. It's not the World Juniors. It's this other tournament that they do before the World Juniors in early December. And Team USA sends their team. Canada sends, I think, 2 teams, one from the East and one from the West. And then the Czechs send the team and the Russians send the team. And the Russians decide every year to send their under-18 team, which is mostly 17-year-old kids. So they're playing against 19-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids that are further along in their development. And they won the tournament. They won it, and Kusnedinov was a top-line guy. He was driving everybody freaking crazy with his speed, his playmaking, his effort, the way how he attacks on the forecheck. But that's just in North America. So there shouldn't be any concerns about his game, let's say, translating. But in the Russian league, he played for this program called SKA 1946, and it's basically the same program that Igor Shesterkin played for. And so it's basically like a farm system for the SCA program, which is the elite KHL team. And on that team, they were loaded. That team was loaded. You know, it's Putin's favorite organization, so they always have to be competitive. They always have to have stars on it. And so when this kid came along, the team was already established. They had their top line guys born in 2000, 2001. And so he could not be just really by default, he could not be a top line center. And then there was another draft eligible kid who was more like a two-way type named Maxim Kroviakov, a good late round option, by the way, for the Rangers. And he was the second line center. So Kuznetsov is really the third line center on the stacked team. But his production was through the roof, off the charts. Points per 60 was over 3. You know, when you talk about points per 60 in the threes, you're looking at the McKinnons and the Crosby levels of scoring. And now he got promoted. I know that they just started the season. He's freaking flying out there. I mean, I think he's a fantastic pick. You don't have to worry about anything with this kid. You don't have to worry about defensive play, face-offs, physicality. He's like 5'11", $175, maybe probably more closer to like 180, 185 because he's pretty thick. But I mean, the kid's explosive, and I'm hoping that they draft him. I know they won't. They'll probably take someone that I like, but just not like as much. So, but he's definitely my target. I got him ranked, I believe, 13th right now. And so the Russian factor likely pushes. There's some teams that blatantly do not draft Russians. Anaheim is one of them. I think Calgary's another one I think Calgary did last year. But in any event, he should be there, or at least there's a possibility that he's there when we get to that pick.
Steve, is he for the most on most people's boards? Is he out of the first round? Out of the top?
Yeah, good question. Some people are not very high on him. I think Craig Button's not high on him, and he actually seen him play live in a couple of tournaments. And for whatever reason, to each his own. And Craig isn't very high on him. But no, like I know it's kind of like a similar situation with the guy Dorofeyev a couple of years ago, last year, where some of us were really high on him, some people were not, and I guess remains to be seen what he becomes. But with Kuznetsov, though, I think his draft resume probably is more impressive than Dorofeyev's. Just the whole package, the international dominance, the limited role dominance, and of course the quick promotion to the big club. So we'll see. I mean, Central Scouting, I think, had him somewhere I believe in maybe the teens. So which means when you factor in the North Americans, if you put both lists together, you're looking at a late first round pick, early second round pick.
So, and real quick, of the glut of centers that are kind of, for the most part, in between 15 and 13 and 25, there's probably 5 or 6 of them, right?
Yeah.
So if the Rangers don't grant your wish and go with this kid, then who could you see them going with?
Well, listen, the Rangers like kids out of the WHL, so right off the bat, you got to figure that Conazari, the playmaking, rugged, physical center out of Kamloops and the Dub. He's a kid that's pretty high profile. He's been one of the top ranked kids out of the WHL for several years now. In terms of this draft, he's played at all the big tournaments. And so he's a late birthday, but he played for the U18 World Championship team. So he's definitely high profile. I think the problem with Zary is people think automatically, oh, he's Western Canadian, so he's probably not that fast, and he's more of a gritty type. And he is gritty, but he's also got a lot of skill. He's actually a pretty impressive playmaker. So he's the kind of guy that will probably blow the Rangers away in the interview and come across as, mature and well-rounded, and he plays defense and he could kill penalties. And, but there are the kids that I really want them to target if they can't get Kuznetsov are one of the 2 Quebec League kids. One is Dawson Mercer, and the other one is Maverick Bourque. Bourque is definitely, he's got great, these names are crazy. They're Dawson, Mercer, Maverick Bourque. But anyway, Maverick Bourque is a offensive machine, and he was the top scorer for a team called Shawinigan, and they weren't all that great. They've been like a doormat the last couple of years, and this past season he exploded out the gate and he helped them become relevant again. So he's not very big, but I see a little bit of Claude Giroux in him. He's that dual threat. He's got a nasty shot, but also makes plays. Excellent on the power play. And then Mercer is a kid that impressed a lot in the CHL Super Series, which is what the Canadian Hockey League uses to kind of get their World Junior team lined up. So you get a team from the O, a team from the Q, and a team from the Dub. And he was on the Q team, and he played so well that Dale Hunter, that jerk, Dale Hunter, was so impressed with him that he picked him for the under-20 World Junior team. And even though he played 14 seconds a game, the fact that he made it and was impressive in that tournament, and he was rated pretty high by Central Scouting, I think that he does have that translatable game. He's got underlying skill. People think of him as a two-way center, but he's not. He's got a ton of skill. I mean, he's really a dangerous guy. He can make all these types of moves, moving laterally, east, west, north, south, doesn't matter. He's an excellent stick handler. So those two guys, I would take either one over Zary, not to really knock on Mr. Zary all that much. And then I guess the other kid, well, there's two other kids, but I don't think either one will be around at 22. And that's Seth Jarvis, the kid out of the WHL, which is kind of like a wing, but he's really a natural center. And he was one of the top scorers in the league. But I think Carolina or one of those early teams are going to take him. And then I guess if I would pick one dark horse is the kid Brisson, Pat Brisson's son. He's American. And what I like about Brendan Brisson is that, listen, he grew up loaded, absolutely filthy rich. His dad was the super agent, and they, live out there in California. He's got freaking mansions everywhere. But he never plays like he's entitled. Every report that I've heard and the people I've talked to in the USHL said that this kid's great. He's humble. He's willing to learn and improve himself, and he's got a really intriguing skill set. I believe he's going to Michigan next year. So, maybe I think the Rangers have always had a relationship one way or another with Pat Brisson. But those are the guys I'm putting into that group. Maybe you could add a guy like Thomas Bordalo, Sebastian's kid, who plays for the NTDP. And then maybe even the Czech kid, Jan Mishak, who has, I'm sure he knows Filipino, and the Rangers know plenty about him from the way that they draft out of the Czech league. So there are options. There are definitely options there. And I'm not going to be as angry as I was, let's say, in 2017 when they picked Lias Andersson at 7. As long as they keep the pick, I think I'll be happy with whomever they draft. I mean, unless they just don't do anything weird and draft some other goalie or some defenseman that nobody else had ranked in the top 100, and they said, "Oh, we love this kid. You're going to love him." They say the same thing every year. Draft a kid one of the kids that we want. Make us happy.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm just looking at our chat room that's going on here. One of our guys was asking about Seth Jarvis, who you already talked about. What about Dylan Holloway?
All right, so thing about Dylan Holloway is he's always been identified as one of the best power forward options for this draft. And he's a big kid. He's a Western Canadian kid, and he could skate. He's got pretty soft hands, and he played in a league called the AJHL, the Alberta Junior Hockey League, which is Junior A. It's called Canadian Junior A. And it's basically for Canadian kids, whether they're elite or not, who want to go to college. So if you go to Canadian Major Junior, you lose your eligibility. So we've seen guys like Cale McCaw play for Canadian Junior A. There's a bunch of guys, Alex Newhook, the kid that was drafted 15th overall, or something like that, last year from Colorado. So there's really no shame in the game when you're playing in a league like that. If you're an elite premier prospect, and he torched that league a couple of years ago, it wasn't even his draft year. And the reason why he stayed there was he wanted to play for Wisconsin with Tony Granato. And what happened was, so he would have been a high WHL Bantam pick. He would have been probably top 10. But Team Canada picked him for the under 18 World Junior under 18 World Championship roster from a couple of years ago. So definitely a high profile kid. And when he went to Wisconsin, we all said, we looked at the roster and said, "Oh my God, on paper, look at all these first round picks. You got, Cole Caulfield and Alex Turcotte, Keandre Miller. And so now you're going to add a kid like Holloway. Oh, all these kids are going to be outstanding, and Wisconsin's going to dominate everybody." But very early on into that season, some problems were arising, mostly in the form of selfish play, and locker room was becoming a little fractured. Don't really have any information as to who was involved in that. I have my thoughts, but I know for a fact, based on the people I spoke with, that Holloway did the right thing and said all the right things. He just kind of let all that BS go over his head, and he just went out and competed every night. He didn't really put up those crazy stats that you'd want to see, and let's say a top 10 or top 15 pick. But when I got a chance to watch him play, I went to Notre Dame a couple times to see him play. He looked great. I mean, he's physical. He could be mean. He's got soft hands. He could play left wing or center. I never had an issue with his playmaking or his hockey sense. I actually have a clip on my Prospect Film Room YouTube channel where it was one little shift. It was a shift against, I forgot what college team it was, but everybody on the ice was kind of like running around with chickens with their heads cut off. And Holloway had the puck and he was moving at full speed up the ice. There was an opening. And then he saw the opening kind of collapse. And instead of forcing a play, he kind of doubled back and pivoted and changed direction and recalculated. And to me, that's hockey sense. Like, how many times you see guys force passes just to get rid of it, just to avoid getting hit? And Holloway doesn't do that. So much like Lafreniere, he could be a dirty guy. He could be a dirty, mean, physical player. Impossible to move from in front of the net. Very difficult in board battles. So, like, in theory, if you end up with a Holloway Lafreniere combination for your first round. I mean, those are two kids that we thought were top 10 picks for most of the season. I think we all knocked Holloway down a little bit because he just wasn't producing the way you'd want to see a top guy produce. But then again, Wisconsin was having all types of problems this year, so you really can't fault them. I think now that Alex Turcotte has left and he's moved on to LA, probably playing in the AHL, and Cole Caulfield is still there, I think his top line is going to be Holloway at center and then Cole Caulfield at the right side. And then you're going to see an explosion in points. But again, I'm just speculating, but I think probably the smartest thing to do.
And who knows if he's still going to be there at 22, right? I mean, a lot of what I've read, he's projected like mid-teens. Where did you have him ranked?
Holloway?
14th. He's got him, right?
14. Yeah.
That's about where I've seen him ranked. Steve, can you still hear us?
Steve, can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me? I lost you guys.
We can hear
you.
I
can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you.
Can't hear us. Okay. All right, hang on. Let's try this. All right. We'll try and get Steve call back in. It looked like his signal cut out, and then when he came back, that was when he couldn't hear us. Okay.
Yeah, Holloway. What I've read, what I've seen in terms of rankings, I've seen him pretty much middle of the pack there, middle of the round.
Can you hear us, Steve? Steve? Can't hear us? Steve can't hear us. There he goes. All right. Well, hey, it lasted for we got a half hour out of it anyway. We'll see if he tries have him call back in one more time.
Yeah, but what he was saying is like there's a
get this off the screen too.
And you could hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. Yeah, so what he was talking about, there's like a glut of centers. There's probably 5 or 6 of them. So if the Rangers don't really care to draft positionally, then maybe they'll look to fall back into the second round. You know, like he said, we don't have a second round pick. So, I mean,
right.
I don't, everybody always has a different opinion. Usually in terms of the depth of a draft, the opinions around the same. That, like I said, with all those centers ranked between, 13 and 25, you would think they would get at least one that, that they'd want.
Steve, can you hear us? Steve can't hear us.
That's a bummer.
Hold on a second. Let me check. Oh, Steve, can you hear us? Nope. He's gone. All right. Hold on. Let me try something. Brian Attard, can you hear us?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I don't know if something was going on with Steve's signal or what, because he just he went all pixelated, like his Wi-Fi cut out on him, and then we couldn't hear him. So
Jim, you're so right. You and I spoke about it privately that his draft coverage is second to none. I mean, it's I buy it every year. I look forward to it every year. It's just the detail is immense.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
All right, let's try Steve again.
I hear you guys great.
Okay, awesome.
Steve, can you hear us?
Yeah, perfectly. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep, we can hear you now.
All right, good.
And we're also joined by Brian Attard. He was also hyping up your site.
What's up, Brian? How you
love
doing?
you, Steve.
Hey, Steve, getting back to that Holloway kid, I know that he's also listed as a left winger. Has he played primarily center?
He's played both. I know that when he was at Wisconsin, he centered the
I can't hear
third
Steve.
line a couple of times.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Everybody but Brian.
Okay, sorry,
Okay.
Brian. Yeah, he's played center and wing. I know that he's just got that versatility. I don't know if I call him a natural wing, but when you have a power forward like that, you kind of maybe he might be better suited on the flank. But again, he's the kind of player that's versatile. He'll do whatever's asked of him. If you want to play center, play center. He's pretty good on faceoffs. So I don't really see it to be like a major, like I guess, fork in the road when it comes to his development. I think when you look at how the Rangers are constructed, if they draft him, there's really not a whole lot of competition when it comes to center ice. You got maybe Carl Henriksen, at least in the prospect pool. You got Carl Henriksen. If you want to say Brett Howden, I mean, it's pretty thin if you think about it. I wouldn't draft Holloway only because of the fact that I really want a center, like a natural playmaking center. No matter how big or small he is, I just want a guy that's going to make these wingers better. And with Holloway, you run the risk of him being considered too physical of a guy to be earmarked for a top 6 role. And so, but the skill's there. It's just a matter of, like I said, I mean, he didn't really perform, or I guess produce the way you'd want to see a top 10 pick produce, which is kind of, it's dangerous to think that way. But, I would say if you do draft him and he's there at 22, okay, I guess you consider it's a little bit of a steal. But, again, I want them to address the center ice need with like a real natural difference-making center, and that's his natural position.
Steve, since you brought him up, I want to jump off onto a sidetrack here for a second. Can you give us your take on Brett Howden? I like Brett Howden. I think my co-host, who's not here tonight, of course, is absolutely done with Brett Howden. He thinks he says Brett Howden is useless. I kind of like Howden, and I think for what I just think people expect too much from him.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Like, there's a couple of factors involved here. Now, when we watched Brett Howden play in his junior hockey days, we viewed him as a, best case scenario, he'd be like a Derek Stepan type, a playmaking first or pass first, two-way type who could kill penalties and, take key draws and whatever you want to call it. And that would be his ceiling. That would be his ceiling, like a best case scenario. But never did anyone ever watch him and say, you know what, I want that kid's going to be a star one day. And I think when the Rangers acquired him, and same thing could be said for Libor Hayek in that deal with Tampa, was that it was like a culture change. Like the Rangers wanted to be a tougher team to play against, and they wanted kids that were going to show up and say the right thing and be willing to learn and be eager. And everyone you talk to that knows Brett Howden says he's a great kid. And now I get it. Like, listen, Manny Malhotra was a great kid, and he had troubles producing here. And of course, John Muckler didn't do the kid any favors, but at the same time, you got to produce. If you're a top pick or you're a high profile prospect, you have to produce. And now when I tracked his I guess his metrics in his rookie year, along with Philip Hedl and with Lias Andersson, it was very obvious that Howden was the superior player to Andersson. Andersson was not generating jack, what. And Hedl was definitely a dangerous player. So I felt that what the Rangers did when they acquired Howden, whether it was because they loved him in 2016, but they couldn't draft him because they didn't have a first-round pick, or their scouting staff said, hey, this kid's really developing well for Tampa. Let's bring him over here. I never felt like the Rangers drafted him or acquired him to be a top 6 center. I think they acquired him to be a depth guy, right? And a depth guy that on occasion chips in with 5 to 8 goals and 15 to 20 assists. So, at the same time, he's also only 22 years old. And so, when you're developing as a checker, I guess, or you're a depth guy, then you have to be patient with that. And maybe he will one day develop into one of the teams or one of the divisions or conferences better, like two-way types. Now, the metrics say he's not all that great as a two-way type, but then again, the whole team stinks outside of 1 or 2 players. So, I think he's got 1 more year left. Let the Rangers give him another full season left. But the reason why I think a lot of people are really down on him is because they think that he took Lias Andersson's job. And I've said this a million times, Lias Andersson complained and made up stories about the Rangers Brett Howden did not complain. It did not make up stories about the Rangers or go public with them. And so because of that, it became pretty easy for the Rangers to make that decision. I mean, Elias Anderson definitely played himself out of the organization, and he acted his way out of the organization. This kid threw a freaking silver medal into the stands, and people could say whatever they want. If you're in your 20s, yeah, what a courageous move. But when you're like in your 30s and 40s and you get older, you're like, what a stupid thing it was to do. And so it goes back to culture, right? The Rangers were getting pushed around. They wanted to be a tougher team to play against. And we thought that Elias Anderson was going to be that guy. That's how we assessed him in his draft year. And he never really turned out to be all that tough to play against. So I'm happy for the kid. He's rejuvenated his career. But to go back to Howden, I think that he's going to start feeling the pressure now, because now it's public. Now people have literally, New York beat writers are reporting that Brett Howden is hated by a good portion of the fan base, and which I don't think is fair. But in any event, I think the clock's ticking on him, and I'd like to see him, adjust his game a little bit, become more explosive, finish when he has a chance to finish, things like that.
I think one of the other reasons why people don't like Brett Howden was because they had these high expectations. They wanted to justify us trading our captain and also JT Miller. And so you naturally, as a fan, you want to be able to, as much as you usually lose on the trades. Whoever gets the better player usually wins the trade. And
absolutely,
we were already committed to rebuilding and resetting. So when you get back a player, you in your fan brain says, well, if he can score 20 goals or so, that justifies us getting rid of our captain and getting rid of JT Miller and things like. If somebody doesn't know really anything about that player, it's really unfair in a way. I don't care who it is. I like Brett Howden. I don't expect him to score 25 goals a season. He is what he is. I just think that I think if he wasn't part of that trade and we got him on a much less big time trade, I think a lot less fans would be would be tough on him.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And listen, again, it's a results-based industry. So Brett Howden would end all this if he starts producing, and whether he's a third-line guy or a fourth-line guy, bury the puck. Look at Tony DeAngelo, easily one of the most hated Rangers by fans of the Rangers themselves that I could ever remember. I mean, and we all booed everybody back in the day from the blue seats. But you know what? Tony DeAngelo is easily, and listen, he does it to himself. I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but I'm just saying that. But you have people that absolutely detest Tony DeAngelo as a person for his beliefs. But you know what? He was one of the top scoring defensemen, I guess, in the NHL, or he's in that second tier. And so when you put the puck in the net and you're delivering, making plays, and you're doing all those little things to drive possession, then you know what? Like, the fans will find a way to like you. And so if Brett Howden wants this to end, start scoring, bro. Like, start scoring. Make the fans like you. It's that simple.
Yeah, let me just state for the record that in 1994, never once did I ask myself, gee, I wonder who Adam Graves voted for this year.
Oh my God, yeah. Listen, don't get me started, but
did Mike Richter vote Democrat?
It is what it is. I have no problem if people want to inject political beliefs into the way that they root for sports. Personally, I don't understand. Like, I hated the Rangers because of not making the playoffs, and I wanted guys traded. But to hate on a player because of no matter what they vote for, like, I'm Greek, right? And Greeks traditionally don't get along with the Turks, right? If there was a Turkish Ranger and who was celebrating the slaughter of Greeks in the 17th century, if he scored 50 goals a season, I'd still freaking root for him. It's that simple. It's that
have his
simple.
jersey.
The chances of that happening no longer exist because Glenn Sather no longer has his hands on this team, Steve. Sorry.
Oh.
Boy, if Glenn Sather could draft a Turk in the first round, he would.
Hey, score goals. Win me another cup. Win me a second cup in 80-something years, and you could be Al Qaeda. I fought Al Qaeda. You guys are from Al Qaeda, and he scores 50 goals. I'll freaking root for him. I'm tired of this one cup in 80 years or whatever it's been. Enough.
Steve, going back to the trade, because everybody is all about Howden, and I understand that.
Sorry about that tangent.
if you think back to it, the Rangers wanted
All right.
Libor Hayek. He was the linchpin in the whole deal. Like, he was the guy they really wanted to get, and he's really probably the one that hasn't materialized at all into what they thought they were getting. He had a great, juniors tournament. He was a talk at the tournament, and he was the guy that they wanted. Now, granted, Nils Lundqvist is going to make the deal work no matter what, and they weren't going to sign McDonough anyway, so it's fine. But I think Howden, because he's the only one set on the roster on a night-to-night basis, he's the one that gets all the hate because he's an easy target. Hayek's not there to complain about.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
And I'm assuming Steve can't hear Brian.
Yeah, I can't. You need a relay.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian was basically saying that Libor Hayek was a big part of the McDonough trade as well.
Yeah,
and that Howden kind of bears the brunt of this fan base because Hayek's hasn't been around much yet.
Yeah, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I loved Brett Howden, and I loved Libor Hayek in the draft year. I think I ranked them both in the first round. I watched Libor Hayek a ton. He was like the man on the island for the Czech teams, always being the guy that had to bear the brunt of the ice being tilted. And then when he played I think he played for Saskatoon. I think he played for Saskatoon in the WHL, same thing. Like, they were just terrible. And the poor guy was just doing nothing but defending. And remember when Hayek came up for that cup of coffee a couple of years ago, he looked really good. And we were all like, oh my God, Libor Hayek is our future number one. But unfortunately, injuries and the way that the team is set up with the defense, you got Adam Fox stepping in and making a name for himself. So I'm not going to close the book on him just yet. I know that he's got a pretty strong reputation in scouting circles because he's a good kid. He's coachable, and he's got really what you want. He's got size, strength, and speed for a defenseman. So he's never going to be a point producer. I thought maybe he might be. He's got a little bit of a muffin shot, and his passes are quite simple. D-to-D passes, stretch passes, maybe banks every now and again. But, again, you're looking at a guy, if he can get stronger. And I don't have a problem with him being on a bottom pairing. So, like you said, Joe, you're never going to win a trade. Like, you trade Patrick Waugh, you're not going to win that trade. No. You trade Wayne Gretzky, you're not going to win that trade. You trade Mark Messier, you trade Brian Leach. We all remember the package they got for Leach, Kondai. I forgot these guys' names already. Anyway, we lost our franchise, even though he was getting old, and none of those guys turned out to be anything. They got like 4 players in addition to the picks. So I'm definitely more of a glass half full kind of guy when it comes to these trades, and they're involving kids who I followed for a long time. But then again, I try not to marry myself too much to their potential if they're turning 22 or 23 and they're not delivering the goods. So and on top of that, you got guys like Matt Robinson, you got guys like Nils Lundqvist, you got Keandre Miller. So the pressure's on a guy like, let's say, Libor Hayek to deliver, because there's a long line of guys waiting behind him, and probably going to add a couple more with this draft.
Speaking of Lundqvist, what else can you tell us about him, like the latest on him? Because the Rangers they're very, very high on him.
Well, here's the thing about Nils Lundqvist. He is a playmaker, and he's not just a playmaker. He's actually able to hold his own against older competition. I always got the sense that when he plays for that team, Luleå, in the Swedish Hockey League, it's one of the best teams in the league and has been for the last couple of years. And they're giving him big minutes. He's playing about 17 to 20 minutes a night. And he's just a fantastic power play quarterback. He's just smooth. He's a great skater. And I think my issues concerning his strength and his defensive play were valid. But at the same time, he's improved them. And he's not really a defensive liability. But again, at the same time, this kid's playing in Sweden, and with all due respect to Sweden ain't the NHL. And so what will really give us a better idea of the kind of player he is what he does in the AHL. Different ice. He's out of his comfort zone. It's more physical. There are guys that he's going to be playing against 28, 29, 30, and they literally go into that game knowing who the top prospects are and want to mash them. It's not really personal. It's just to make a name or really kind of introduce that kid to the North American style. So he's had some injury issues in the past. I think he's had some ankle issues, but they seem to be okay. And listen, when Tony DeAngelo's contract was being discussed, everyone was saying, well, you just friggin' replace him with Nils Lundqvist. I'm like, dude, Tony DeAngelo is like a tough dude. Like he could handle North American hockey. I mean, he's been in the OHL. He's been in the minor leagues. He's a proven commodity right now. And Lundqvist, you can't just pencil a guy like that in. He's got to learn the room. He's got to learn about his partners, which one, how they like the passes delivered to them, how they skate. I mean, there's a lot of things that are involved when you're coming to a new team. So I definitely think he's highly regarded. I think that you might as well consider him one of the premier prospects in the pool. And his development's been fantastic. So, yes, I think when we run into issues with, let's say, Jacob Trouba gets hurt, or, I mean, they're different players, but I wouldn't have an issue with Lundqvist going to the AHL, spending, maybe a season or two down there. And then when Tony DeAngelo becomes unbearable or wants to move on and make more money, then you can maybe start incorporating Lundqvist into the attack, put him on a bottom pairing, let him play the power play, and get used to the surroundings.
Okay. Thank you for that.
No issues.
I keep hearing his name come up, as coming up in the system, and I know the Rangers are pretty high on him. So
yeah,
and he's a left-handed defenseman, right?
No, righty. He's a righty.
Oh, he's righty. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Joe, do you have anything else for Steve? Because Steve's got another. He's got a Toronto radio appearance coming up. Right
No, I don't want. I won't keep him.
Yeah, Steve, we certainly thank you for joining us, and we know this is a busy night for you. You got what's after the Toronto appearance?
Editing, maybe some sleep. I mean, I don't know. Like, listen, this is like, it's like finals week in college. You had like 3 finals in one day, and
right.
you had to find out like, oh, okay, great. They're like, so I have to study for 3 finals. And you just, by the time you're done with that 3rd final, like you're kind of just like a zombie and sleepwalking. So that's pretty much what the draft is for me. As much fun as I like providing people with the information, it's definitely work. It's definitely work, man. And then on top of that, I got the kids, and they're always complaining. They don't seem to get it that this is kind of an important couple days for me. And they're like, well, why can't we decorate for Halloween now? Why can't we? And you're like, oh yeah. And even my parents are the same way, like always calling me and texting me. And I'm trying to say, like, just give me like 4 days. That's all I asked was 4 days.
I actually have one really quick question.
Sure.
If you know, I assume all, I don't know how, I haven't read how they're going to handle the draft in terms of the Zoom calls and all this stuff. Are they going to have Gary Bettman on one screen and then the team picking? Because I assume they're all going to be in their war rooms, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to be poking fun at the process because I'm doing my live stream. And for the first time, I'm not going to be at the arena.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be in fan mode. I'm just going to kick back, drink a couple of beers. And then every time they announce a pick, I'm going to comment on everything. It's going to be very interesting. So I know my wife has been teasing. She's teasing the Rangers about the setup. She's like, multi-billion-dollar corporation. You're in that weird room with the cheap rug and the cheap water bottles. Like, get Avion or something. Get freaking Fiji water. It's just funny. So like, it's going to give us something to talk about. But I mean, honest with you, I already said it. If they do not draft Lafreniere, if they don't draft Lafreniere, man, I mean, I don't know.
You're going to go down to 45,000 followers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. What was it that The Rock like lost like 48 million followers? The Rangers are going to have like 8 followers if they don't have.
There isn't a chance in hell they trade that pick or don't pick. There's not a chance.
But you never know. Listen,
I know
we've been fans of this team collectively combined for what, about 120.
Yeah, but Steve, honestly, like, when was the last number 1 pick where it was a consensus pick that didn't get chosen? Like there was always that, the Taylor Tyler, it could have went either way.
Yeah.
I think it was tipping towards Taylor Hall and, but Yakupov, but like, when was the last time we were like stunned? And it's the Rangers, right?
I mean, 2003 was kind of a weird year because they had the goalie and there was Tampa Bay and Florida, I think, were involved, and they were trading picks like crazy.
Yeah,
But
they traded. That was the Nathan Horton draft where
with Stoll
Pittsburgh traded up to get Flurry.
But there wasn't a consensus number one.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
I have to think about it.
Yeah,
I think you know what? I got it. Mike frickin' Milbury, Rick DiPietro in 2000 when everyone was like, it's got to be Gaborik or Heatley. And Milbury's like, nope, I'm taking the goalie, DiPietro. And the Islanders are going to pay him like the Mets with Bobby Bonilla for the next 47 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, as much as everybody talks about that, the DiPietro pick, let's not forget they picked Rafi Torres number 5, and he played 31 games for the Islanders.
Man, no, we can do a whole show.
That's got to be one of the worst drafts anybody's ever had.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, we can do, if we really want to stick it to the Islanders and have my family or Islanders fans, we could just do a whole show about Mike Milbury's tenure and just the horrible moves that guy made. And you know what's funny is there's this thing on YouTube. It's called like A Year in the Life. It's a really good series. CBC did it, and it basically followed the entire NHL, front office players, you name it, for the 97-98 season. So they go to the GM meetings, and the stuff that Milbury says, you're like, what year is it? What year? This guy, like, they were literally like, Neil Smith was like, I think we need to open up the game more and promote the offense. And Milbury's like, no, the players, they need to shoot more. They're crybabies. And, you know, so surprise, surprise, that the guy made some of the worst moves in the history that any GM could make. But hey, listen, he got paid, and he's probably hunting and fishing right now. So I guess the joke's on.
I have an Islander fan friend. Every year around this time, I always watch old drafts. And so today I couldn't resist when the Islanders in the 2012 draft took Griffin Reinhart, who was ranked 4th by TSN. And so I had to video to him and send it to him. And I said, it's that time again.
They made up for it by trading that pick to that idiot Chiarelli and getting Matthew Barzal out of the deal.
That's true.
Yeah. But anyway, let me go. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
All right, man. Thank you, Steve.
Everyone enjoyed
Take care.
Yeah, we'll
Thanks
talk
again for all your hard work on this. And make sure you follow Steve on Twitter @The Draft Analyst. All right. Enjoy tomorrow night, Steve. We'll be watching you on Twitter.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take it easy. Bye. All right.
Yeah. We could have went 3 hours. He could have given us the whole draft.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
He's amazing.
And you know what's amazing about Steve is that not only could Steve give you a breakdown of everybody in this year's draft, but he could tell you who was drafted first overall in 2002 and what kind of career he had, and then who got passed over for that.
It's amazing.
He's a draft historian as well. He's quite a bundle of information.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He's like I know everybody hates Pierre and all that stuff, but Pierre Maguire knows his. I mean, he is an encyclopedia of hockey. Pierre Maguire.
Oh, absolutely.
You could say whatever you want. You can't take that away from him.
I don't know about y'all, but I made a sizable wager on Byfield at 2 based on Steve's recommendations. So I'll buy him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can bet it on DraftKings. He's minus 112, and Stutzel's minus 121.
I put a bet down on your kid going to bed.
I love my son more than anything. He's 2.5, and he's fighting bedtime hard these days.
Yeah. Get back in the back room. I told you I'm doing shows. Isn't he used to this? You do like 172 shows on the sports bar.
I know.
Daddy's in the room. He's doing another show. Now he's going to interrupt.
Yeah. Now, usually the one I'm on, it's past his normal bedtime, so this doesn't really happen. Today is as well. But so I just jumped off because Steve couldn't hear me.
You should know when the door is closed. I mean, Daddy's broadcasting.
Merry Christmas. Tomorrow's gonna be fun, man. I'm very, very. In fact, like I got my, I got this. I'm ready to go. I got the ball.
I was thinking about it today, and I was thinking about all the time off that we had, and I was like, well, that was our off season, and now we're going to be rocking and rolling, because if the season resumes in terms of when they're going to report to camps and things like that. Training camps normally report right after Traverse City, right? So I think right around my birthday is like the first preseason game, like September 21st, 22nd. And then, by October 5th, you got opening night.
Right.
We're getting the draft, and then we're getting free agency hitting. And then, before you know it, we're going to be into November, and we're going to be looking a few weeks ahead to possibly opening up training camps, and then maybe them starting between Christmas and New Year's or right after New Year's. You know what I'm saying? And then depending on how they set up the season, how many games they're going to play, if they're going to try to squeeze in 82 games from January through, July, who knows? Maybe the Winter Classic is how they kick off the season. Yeah, but they're not doing the Winter Classic, right?
I thought this.
Has it been
I
canceled?
thought it made a lot of sense. No, I thought it. Well,
no. Because wait, they never even announced this year's Winter Classic, did they? They played the Nashville Dallas one, and then a few months later, the COVID hit stuff.
St. Louis and the Wild at
it was
Target
supposed to be
Field.
Minneapolis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
right.
that's how they
Yeah,
get
that
the
has
season
to be
off.
canceled.
For the record, I'm 36.
Why?
I'm not 2.5, but thank you. I'll take it as a compliment.
I don't know, man. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, but why not play the game? Have the season start January 1st. That's the first game of the season.
Even if you have, because they're not going to be able to have that many people in the stands, if any.
Yeah, but that game's more about the advertising and the
for sure.
And the advertising.
Where were they playing that again?
Minneapolis.
It's going to be at Target Field in Minneapolis.
Yeah. Right.
So,
which Target Field is a baseball stadium, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So you got to figure it probably seats 45,000, maybe.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about that. I know, obviously they're not going to do. I read somewhere they're not going to have any bye weeks. Those 6-7 day off, and of course, no All-Star game or All-Star weekend. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, they didn't have any positive cases at all. They all stayed in the bubble. Which when I watched the Tampa celebration, and they were talking about, and they were all on the boats and down in the Intracoastal and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden they switched to these shots of all the fans drinking out of the cup with the players. I'm like, you guys were in the bubble for like 10 weeks. And now all of a sudden you go from that strictness to not giving a crap who's drinking out of your cup.
They're making up for it.
They're hockey players.
Alcohol,
They're
man.
the toughest athletes. They're the toughest athletes on the planet.
Yeah.
They don't.
It was pretty funny.
They don't worry about no stinking COVIDs.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think that's a home run. You start the season with the Winter Classic on New Year's Day, and then you play like a 60-game season, and the season could end right at the same time it usually does. And then
it wouldn't be the first time they've shortened a season. The strike shortened season in 95 was what
48 games.
48 games. Yeah. They started around mid-January.
They started. Yeah, because I remember the banner ceremony.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I was away that weekend, and I was so pissed that I was going to miss it.
Messier signed his contract like right before
like
the
a
game.
day, like an hour. Yeah, right.
Right. I think it was like an hour before.
Yeah.
He cried, and then they went on the ice, and then they raised the banner. They brought the cup down, and then they lost.
That's right.
When they lost, they always lose those games.
Typical
type of games,
of course.
So here's a question for you both. What is your read as far as if we're going to see more or less trade activity tomorrow than normal, because you don't have that, there's XGM and YGM talking by the blue line or whatever they normally do. But at the same time, I think the finances are going to play a much bigger role than ever, which is unfortunate that we don't really have the money we normally do because we're paying $13 million in buyouts, neither here nor there. But I think you're going to see guys get moved in cash dump deals more so than hockey deals, probably for futures, because they just don't want to. They have the self-imposed caps and things like that.
Yeah, and JD said he does not expect the cap to change for 2 years for another 2 years after this season.
Yeah.
Well,
so
yeah, he's saying for 3 years, right? Which they know already. It's definitely 2. So, and he's thinking even past that, right? So, Well, to answer your question, Brian, I think what I've read was there is a boatload of chatter going on. So when and the way it was put was that it's more than normal. Maybe because of the fact that it's been so quick right after the Cup final, and they've been trying to get things done. I think we may wind up seeing some things done after the draft between now and the opening of free agency, which is what, October 9th?
It's coming so quick.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
And so I think that, I mean, they've already started trickling in, the smaller trades and stuff like that. Minnesota and San Jose swapped, made a couple of trades today,
Dubnik.
Yeah.
Was traded.
Dubnik went over and Donato.
For like a 5th round pick or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think Minnesota retained half the salary if I read the
Yeah.
I just saw like a quick thing about it and didn't read anything into it, but I thought
and that was one of the landing spots when I thought actually Lundqvist may wind up ending up in with San Jose, but I was wrong. It was wound up Dubnik, but I've been hearing a lot of Washington lately. I don't know, who knows.
Why would you go there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they have a good team, so that would give them a legitimate shot to maybe get in more games than if he were to go somewhere else.
Would you believe it if I told that Colorado is below the cap floor right now?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know how crazy that is, given how good they are?
Crazy. They have the scariest team in the NHL to me.
100%. Why would you go there? I would go there. I have a shot to win the Cup immediately.
But he may, we don't know him personally, right? No, not only a handful of people do. So, and probably nobody even really knows what he wants to do. But maybe he wants to stay close to New York. Maybe he figures he's got a year or two left tops. I mean, he's 38. Put the cards on the table, right? Marty Brodeur still wanted to play, so New Jersey said, okay, take the turnpike, head up east, and go play. And what did he do? He played for a year, right? And then he said, you know what? We're done. So maybe Lundqvist plays a year. Gets another kick in the can, doesn't win a cup. I mean, let's face it, it's the hardest thing to do, right? One team wins it. Usually when you start picking teams, you can ask Marion Hossa this, you don't always get to pick the best team and win it. So, maybe he'll sign a 1-year deal. If he doesn't win it and he feels good, maybe he plays a second year, maybe on a different team, who knows? And then that's that. Call it a day.
My whole thing with Washington is, I mean, assuming there would be a full season, an 82-game season.
Yeah.
Would he really want to sign someplace where he's probably only going to play 15 games?
Yeah. That's who knows? You never know, though, what can happen, right? I mean, you've heard lots of stories of veteran goalies riding shotgun, and then all of a sudden, the team's not playing well. The goaltending is terrible. I mean, it happens in the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, it happens in the play. It happened to Washington in the playoffs, and Holtby and was involved with that, and then they went lights out and they won the cup. But you never know. You never know what can happen. And
I think Carolina might be a place for him too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They had goaltending struggles. God, they had a Zamboni driver, for Christ's sake, and Peter Mrazek is not that good.
And the other thing that
you could give a guy like Mrazek, 40, 50 games, give Hank 30, and I think that's probably about what Hank is good for.
Well, the other thing that we have to consider is we don't know how many games they're going to play this season, and it could be a very, very condensed schedule. So it's pretty taxing on goaltenders to play. Definitely they don't play many back-to-backs at all. But when you're playing 4 games in 7 days,
7 nights, yeah,
and you do that 3 times a month, 2 to 3 times a month, it's a lot. It's not.
No, you're right.
So there are some weeks in the schedule you happen to hit that Monday night game, and you wind up playing 4 games because you play Sunday, and then you get into a week next week where you're only winding up playing Wednesday, Saturday. You play 2. That's not going to happen if they condense the schedule. So teams are going to need goaltending. I expect Georgiev to get into maybe 20% of the games, right? You'd have to figure, or maybe a little bit more, who knows? But I mean, teams are going to need a second goaltender and not be able to rely on the starter and that guy playing, if they play 60 games, him playing 52, 54 games, because it's going to be so condensed. So nobody knows where he's going to go except, I guess, him. Or, well, he may not know that, or, at least his desire. He may have a couple of teams in mind.
What's up, guys?
Bring Connor in real quick before we wrap this up. What's going on, Connor? How are you?
I'm doing great. Can you guys hear me this time?
Yep.
Yeah, can hear you
loud and clear.
Perfect.
Honestly,
perfect.
I think our problems. I don't think Steve had the best Wi-Fi signal where he was sitting, and I think that's what our problem was.
Well,
everything else has been fine. I've been able to hear Joe. I've been able to hear Brian. They've been able to hear me. So we can hear you. Whoever you're stealing Wi-Fi from tonight, it's great. You're doing a good.
Great.
You're hooked into somebody good there, or wherever it is you are.
Yes. Yeah.
What's going on?
I'm just I'm happy we have the number 1 pick. We got a solid left winger coming in, and what can I say? The future is bright, my friends. The future is bright, and also, in spite of what Steve said, I still think we need a solid second line or third line center, and whether that's Jarvis or Holloway or one of these other guys, we need to fill that hole, especially because I'm hearing that Ryan Strome will not be re-signing.
Well, listen, the thing about Strome isn't, Jim, you agree with this. I mean, he's a product of Panarin. I mean, you can put you, me, or Joe there, and we might get 30 points. So it's just like, do you want to
I'm available.
Yeah, like, do you want to give that guy the kind of money? I mean, but truth be told, wasn't this supposed to be Philip Heedle's job? Like, the kid's only 21.
Right.
He was supposed to play that role. So, like, before, I agree, center is the weakest part. And if we had the 2 pick, I'd be over the moon for Byfield. I'm not saying that that's a bad idea. Just, you can't do that now. But no one they're going to take is going to play for 2-3 years anyway. So, it's not football. You can't just like plug that guy in my opinion. So that's not going to solve anything.
Not in most cases.
Right. I think they need Heedle to basically earn that role that really he was meant for.
I don't know. I don't have inside track on this, but I don't find it shocking that they haven't qualified him yet. Right around the time when we're about to draft and we have the 22nd pick, and I think there are a lot of teams that would probably take Ryan Strome. His trade value is never going to be higher. It never has, and it probably never will. And so I wouldn't be shocked if they packaged him, right?
I mean,
I'm perfect either.
Yeah, I mean, if we gotta get rid of him, we gotta get rid of him. Considering we also still have to. I'm here considering we also have to deal with LeMahieu and D'Angelo, and as long as we can get 2 out of 3 of those guys to come back, I'd say we're doing just fine.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I was just looking for some. Joe's favorite hockey writer had something about Strome today.
Who's that, Larry Brooks?
Dancing Larry.
The great Dancing Larry Brooks.
Did you guys see Dancing Larry's tribute to our great Baba Shampoo in the Post?
The King and I, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So wait a minute.
I was that article was best read with Barbara Streisand's "The Way We Were" playing in the background. Holy Christ!
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight about Strome. They have to qualify him, or else he becomes free. Right? Yes. I believe that's the situation.
That is correct.
So they have to qualify him. They're going to have to qualify him in order to do something with him. Because if they don't qualify him, he's free, and then he's got no value, right?
I'm just gonna say, when I was reading that Dancing Larry Brooks article, I also was listening to "If We Could Turn Back Time" by Cher in the background, and that worked out just fine for me.
Okay.
What was this article, Jim?
I'm just scanning it here, trying to. Arbitration eligibility is the major issue regarding Strome, 27-year-old center who had a career year with 59 points while meshing beautifully with Artemi Panarin on the club's 1A, 1B line. Those numbers would likely elevate Strome, who had a cap hit of $3.1 million last season, into the realm of $4.7 million neighborhood. That likely would be too rich for the Rangers, even if they do have the space under the cap to accommodate it. Remember, too, that Strome is a season away from unrestricted free agency, so we're probably talking about number 16 becoming a trade deadline rental property. And yes, the Rangers would have walkaway rights, but only if the award is above $4.538 million. That could be close to the award if the arbiter goes low. It is unlikely the Blueshirts would extend a QO without being comfortable having the power to walk away from it. It is unclear whether the Blueshirts are engaging in negotiations with Strome on a deal that would preempt an arbitration filing. And then I guess the rest of his argument was basically what you guys were saying before about letting Hedl, be the number 2 center.
So they have until Wednesday night to qualify Strome, I believe. And so
tomorrow, 5 p.m.
Oh, really? I thought it was Wednesday.
I thought I read something that got extended.
It probably did.
Oh,
with all
now.
According to his article, which is from yesterday, the deadline is 5 p.m. Tuesday.
It's 5 p.m. Wednesday.
Okay, well, that's better.
Right.
The Blueshirts have already qualified Tony DeAngelo, Alex Georgiev, and Brendan Lemieux.
Yeah, but
it's unknown whether Phil Giuseppe has been qualified.
But that's the thing. If you're not going to qualify the guy, that's a tradable commodity to a team that will.
I mean, what's to say we don't we go ahead and trade him and then we bring him back next year, because next year we'll have Brandon Smith off the books and we already have Stahl off the books, and then we only have to deal with $3 million more of Hanks, so we'll have plenty of room to sign him next year.
I know Sean's here. Sean read something that I posted. I post way too much everywhere, but like I said, it made a lot of sense that the Stahl deal and the Lundqvist buyout, I mean, if you knew you were going to buy Lundqvist out anyway, then again, one hand washes the other. That was fantastic. There's no downside to that. That's a package move. That pays for that. The thing right now is what's it called? Is Shattenkirk's buyout, which sucks, but that's life, and you did that to yourself, so fine. But you're also not paying these kids anything right now, so you don't need to. Everyone gets so enamored with, it's the wasted money. Yeah, but what are you going to use the cap for right now anyway? If like Steve said, they're not going to contend for a Stanley Cup next year. So if they went out there and wanted to go sign somebody to a short-term deal, what's the point?
Yeah, they got like 10 players that are way under. I mean, they won't be ready for raises for a little while. I mean, especially guys like Lafreniere, and
Hedl.
Yeah, I mean Georgiev. DeAngelo. Okay, but guys that if they qualify Strome, it's my understanding they got to qualify him at. I think it's like what equivalent to what he was making or something like that, which was like $3.3 million or something like that. So they're going to have to decide. They got till Wednesday to decide what they're going to do with him. I don't know if the Rangers want to re-sign him, and I don't know.
I mean, as Steve said, we're still rebuilding, so this is going to be another bridge year. So we have 1 or 2 more bridge years before we can contend. We've got plenty of great pieces to build around, and we go from there.
See, but I've always thought that this was the last of the rebuilding years because of the way the money was set up. Because you have Brendan Smith's deal off the books. You have Shattenkirk's buyout off the books. You have now Lundqvist's money off the books. You have a lot of money opened up.
Do you know if Matt Bolesky is off the books yet?
To my understanding, he wasn't even that much money anyway, so I wasn't really worried so much about him. But just the bad money, even if they didn't trade Stahl, the bad money was all going to be off after this season. So, we all want to rush and get back to the playoffs and go contend. I get it, but the only buyouts left after this season are Hank's 1.5, Shaddy's 1.4, and Girardi's 1.1. I mean, it's $4 million, $4 million, but it's not like, Fox ain't due until 22-23. Lindgren isn't going to get that big of a raise. It's Igor, but I don't know. The scary one is the Zibanejad. The scary one is Zibanejad in 2 years.
Do you extend Ryan Lindgren now so you don't have to extend him later, or is it too soon for now?
I don't think that
he doesn't want to extend now.
No, but really, like, what is he going to get? I mean, again, these defensive guys get paid off
maybe.
Numbers. He's not.
Yeah. I'm not worried about Ryan Lindgren.
No, the scary thing, like I said, is you look at it right now and you remember the deals that they've been in the past that have hurt them, and it really starting to look like Kreider and Trouba are going to be the next iteration of that. Because, I mean, Trouba signed forever for $8 million.
Yeah, Kreider signed forever now at this point too.
Yeah, and they're going to draft the best left wing, and that's the positional problem. But what are you going to do? You're going to skip the kid because you have a left wing already? No.
Nah, we don't need him.
This is a general
talent. What are we going to do with that?
The good thing for him and the good thing for us is the fact that this has been a very unique situation. Normally, the team that drafts the number one player ranked, that player usually goes to a really, really bad team. The Rangers are not in that category. I mean, Jack Eichel's in Buffalo, and they haven't, really done much. Edmonton, McDavid, okay, but they haven't done as much as everybody would hope to. And McDavid's in the league now 5 years.
Yeah, and then Toronto's got Austin Matthews, and
Right.
they haven't gone past the first round.
I think he probably knows it, that he's getting to go to a team that's okay. They're not ready to contend yet, but that's okay because he's a baby, and being able to be slotted behind the guys that he'll be able to be slotted and not have to worry about being on the first minute and a half of the power play, I think could go a long way for him. In 5, 6, 7 years, when he looks back, that may be the biggest blessing to be able to go to a team that doesn't have the spotlight on him. Because let's face it, if he got chosen by Montreal, or if he got chosen by a team a step down from Montreal or Toronto, but was garbage, the spotlight would still be on him. And, the spotlight's on Eichel. And when his name starts getting mentioned and things like it has over the last week, that's when the shit gets real with fans and the organization. And now you got a problem. I think this kid's going to jump in. He's not what I've read, and I've read a lot about him. He's not the generational guy like McDavid, but I always answer people when they say that, who the hell is Connor McDavid? There's Connor McDavid, and then there's everybody else in this league. I don't care who you put up against him. And I love Nathan McKinnon, but he's still not Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid is a game changer extraordinaire. He is an elite, very, very unique guy. McKinnon may get to that level in another year or two, but he's getting placed in a position where that team, the Rangers, should not suck for the way that most first pick teams suck. And so I think that's going to go a long way for this kid, and I'm pumped to see him.
And he's got stars around him.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about media availability. They're going to want to talk to Panarin, and they're going to want to talk to Zibanejad and even Kakko. Like, he's not going to stick out like a sore thumb. Like in Montreal, he probably couldn't even live an hour and a half from the city. Like, it's just it's nuts up there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and not to mention the fact that the expectations. I mean, yes, they're high for a number one pick, but at the same time, he's not going to be. He's not going to skyrocket in his first year. I mean, we saw that with Capo. So just give him some time to bloom slowly, and he'll be just fine on this team.
You just think about the top six in the coming years. The left side, you think of Panarin and Lafreniere, and the right side, Kakko and Kravtsov, and it's like you just start thinking about like what that could look like, and it just.
I just find it weird. I find it weird the idea of Chris Kreider on the third line, though.
Chris Kreider's 29.
He eventually will get there, though. Yeah, exactly. He's 29. That deal was scarier than us entering with McDonough. And I love Ryan McDonough. He's a warrior. But I before that last year coming up, I said the Rangers got to shit or get off the pot. They gotta have to sign him, and they're gonna have to, and it's gonna be. And like I always say about the Lundqvist contract, anybody who didn't think this was happening was fooling themselves. You had to have known in 2013 when he signed that contract that the last couple of years of that contract were going to be really, really difficult. And we're going to face the exact same thing with Chris Kreider. I mean, his speed will slow down.
Yep.
Okay. His dopiness level is going to get dopier, doing stupid stuff. He's going to be the punching bag, like so many people would use, Dan Girardi as. And so I wasn't too thrilled that they re-signed him, but it is what it is. And he could be a really big mentor for a lot of these young guys. And so that's the positive of it. We'll see it in 5 years. We'll probably be looking back and go, yeah, we knew this was coming.
I think it was Gortz that said it in an interview. I'm paraphrasing. They said, you can't play a lineup full of kids.
No.
You need someone to kind of show them the way. And really, I mean, from the forwards outside of, Panarin, Kreider, and Zibanejad, these are all kids. So it's I can buy that, but it's a really expensive purchase for a really long time. And I agree, his skills are going to diminish, and he might work his way into the third line, not just because Lafreniere jumps him, just because that's where he's going to end up. Because in a couple of years, he's not going to be. And really, he hasn't even been what we thought he was going to be back in 12, right? I mean, we had these visions of what Kreider should be based on the speed, that elite power forward that he never really he shows it in flashes and for stretches, but not consistently enough.
I mean, that's always been the thing about Chris Kreider. It's just you go a week sometimes and you don't hear his name. I mean, he just disappears. When he's hot, and when he's not, he's not. And he kind of strings together, you always know he's going to get to the 20, 25, 26, 27 goal mark, but it's just frustrating the way, because he'll disappear for a week or two. You don't hear anything. He's not on the score sheet. Then all of a sudden he's got 4 goals in 3 games, something like that. Does he have in all this talk about the back end of his contract, that's assuming he's still here. I mean, he could wind up being traded somewhere down the line too.
He's got
when does that kick in?
I think the clause kicked in immediately because he didn't want to go to Seattle.
Okay.
A lot of these guys that negotiated that, they didn't want to go. They didn't want to be exposed to Seattle, and they needed to know they weren't going to be exposed to Seattle.
I mean, eventually we're going to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm trying to actually look at his contract to see if he had. Oh, okay. He has a no move clause. Yes, Brian's right. Immediately. And then it looks like in 2024, it becomes a modified no trade.
Yeah.
Okay. So eventually we'll move him. That's the Ranger way. We either buy out these guys late in their careers or we trade them. That's what we did with Ryan Callahan. That's what we did with McDonough. That's what we did with Girardi. Eventually we're going to have to let these guys.
If Boston comes calling for Chris Kreider, you watch Chris Kreider get traded.
Yeah, I mean, things get waived all the time. So
I'm curious if
we're heading for the exact same problem in 2 years with 93. This is going to be he's going to be 29. He's going to be at the last year of his contract, and so the Rangers need are going to be faced with the shit or get off the pot situation. And like I felt about the McDonough trade, I thought they needed to get ahead of that contract the year prior, not wait till the end like they did, and they thankfully did. I don't know about Zibanejad. I mean, he's going to be a $10 million player. If he continues the way he's been for the next 2 seasons, he will be in the range of a Panarin contract.
I completely agree.
29. So.
And Sean McCaff is absolutely right here. If the Rangers win the Cup in the next 3 years, then the CK contract is worth it. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
If they win the Cup in the next 3 to 4 years, you're not going to care who's making how much. You're not going to worry about salary cap. You're not going to worry about anything. Absolutely. All you're going to worry about is, do they have my T-shirt size in stock on NHL.com? That's all you're going to care about. When's my hat coming? What time's the parade start?
Steve Vogel, he put up a poll on Twitter today, and it said,
I saw it, yeah.
So if Lundqvist hypothetically were to sign with Colorado, and Colorado would play the Rangers in the Stanley Cup, who would you hope would win the Cup, Lundqvist or the Rangers? And 22% of the people said Lundqvist, and I said 22% of you need to hand your fucking Rangers fan card in immediately.
Listen, you know,
in a Stanley Cup, I could understand. I could understand an Eddie Jockman-like situation where Henrik Lundqvist comes back in the middle of October
and they cheer him,
game at the Garden, and they cheer him
against the Rangers, right?
Yeah, but you know, same thing. You know, this wasn't like just like Henrik was unceremoniously waived. Henrik was sent off with a rather lucrative severance package. Okay?
I would go the other way. It would.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
As much to watch him lift the cup. I mean, against the Rangers? Are you kidding?
No.
I mean, I was happy McDonough got to win the cup. I loved McDonough on the Rangers. It sucks that it didn't work out. If
it was against us,
yeah, exactly.
Ryan McDonough.
I have jokingly say that I would be okay with 95% of the world's population getting wiped out for Rangers winning the Stanley Cup. So if you're going to tell me that I'm going to suddenly, Henrik needs it more than we do.
Boy, Thanos has nothing on you, Brian.
Can I pick the 95%?
No, you guys are good. I got to party with somebody. But the point is, it's
like that episode, like that old episode of the original Star Trek where the people go in the machine and they never come out. You know, they just push a button and decide that 50% of the population, that's how they fight wars.
Snap it.
If I could just push a button and decide which 95% is gone, fine. Bring on the cup.
As far as I'm concerned, Brian is that one kid in the Twilight Zone wishing 95% of the population into the cornfield.
Only if I get a cup. Just one. Right. I don't even need one. It's fine.
Joe, remember Fuzzy on the Rangers '94 highlight trip?
No.
I usually get to the game to the Garden at 6:30. Today I'm here at 3:30 in the afternoon. I want that cup. I want that cup. I want that cup. That's me.
And Fuzzy died in peace.
I'm Fuzzy. Yeah. I want that cup. 95% of the population's gone. Fine. I want that cup.
Listen, I always say to Rangers fans, I was lucky enough to watch it, and I hope that every Ranger fan on this planet that hasn't seen it gets to experience what that felt like. I don't know if it'll ever be like 94 for people that went through it once, but for people that have never gone through it, I would think, and I hope it's the exact same thing. And it was just euphoria. Like it was just something that
transcended.
It doesn't matter how many years have passed. I could think about it and still get jacked up about it that it happened.
I will never forget 10, but I remember it like it was yesterday.
One of the memories that has stuck with me as much as the games, the celebrations, and everything was I don't even remember how long it was after the Cup win. It was probably in the fall, and it was the MTV Video Awards or whatever they called their awards at Radio City Music Hall. And I think it was Messier and Leach came out on the stage probably at Radio City Music Hall. And the crowd started chanting, "Let's go Rangers!" And I thought, you know what?
Oh my God,
this was a big deal. It's the MTV Music Awards, and they're chanting, "Let's go Rangers!" I mean, that was amazing.
That
was when you knew just how big a story that was for them to win that year.
And in my heart, I do believe we will get to experience again. I've seen a lot of teams, especially over the last 20 years. That have won it, and you'd be like, "Wow, you kidding me? Like, wow, like how why not the Rangers, right? Like anybody." And there are organizations that have never won the Cup, and they've gotten close and lost. I do believe that we're in a time where take it from an old guy like me. This is unprecedented. It's hard for people to understand. I am old. He is
old.
Hard for people to understand. It's hard for people to understand it because we're in the now. But this is definitely unprecedented. Winning winning the lottery doesn't happen to the Rangers. Having all of this young, promising talent all at the same time or coming through within 3 to 4 years of each other has never happened. Never. And as long as I remember, if we had a smattering of rookies in the lineup, it was exciting. But if they finished with 15 points for the season, this is a whole other ballgame. And it's hard as a Rangers fan to sometimes look at your own, it's easy to look elsewhere and go, oh boy, Colorado's a dynamo. It's going to be amazing. And well, so are we. And so the Rangers can very well be a Chicago and a Colorado. And if they do the right way, if they get lucky, get some bounces, make some good deals and acquire the players that they need to, why not the Rangers? And so he may be going to be very competitive for a 5 to 7 year run.
Yeah, I mean, I think
when I see this, sorry, kind of, but when I see this rebuild that they're doing, I think to myself, I guess the Kings won, or no, the Blackhawks won 3. They won 3 cups in 5 years or 6 years.
That's right.
I can't even imagine. I can't even in my wildest dreams.
And for a franchise that was going on 50 years,
right?
They were almost
for a franchise also that in, I believe it was 2002, was voted by Sports Illustrated as the worst franchise in all of sports.
Yeah.
And 10 years later, they were a 5-year dynasty. But I can't even imagine what that would feel like to win the cup 3 times in 5 years.
And if you remember, they got some lucky bounces. They were able to go and get and draft Patrick Kane, their future captain Taves. They were able to get guys and then make trades when they were at the point of being able to really compete and push over. They pushed over. They won a cup every other year I mean, just amazing. Amazing run. LA, dynamo. Yeah. Pittsburgh, I mean, it's we haven't really, over the last 10 years or so, we've seen those 3 organizations win a boatload. And they've had a lot of, especially Pittsburgh. You look at some of those young guys that come in and just play amazing. I mean, guys like Gensel, like the kid was like, he was almost like a 18, 19-year-old kid and just playing major minutes to win a cup and win the cup in his first year or 2. And it's like, he isn't just a bit player either that just got to latch on to a really good team. He was a contributor. So, but again, those teams hit rock bottom. I mean, Pittsburgh was a step out the door.
Pittsburgh was going to move, actually.
Yeah. I mean, and Chicago was the doormat of the league. Again, people don't remember that before the days of Patrick Kane. And the same with Los Angeles. They were horrendous for a long time. The Rangers have never hit rock bottom like that. And that's what makes, I think, this a very unique situation.
Jake Gensel went 77th overall in 2013. At 75, the Rangers took Buchnevich. At 76, the Islanders took someone named Taylor Camarada.
Hey, I got to run, guys, but it's been fun.
All right. Take care, Connor.
See you, Connor. Connor is the
half-hour Wi-Fi he just bought right now.
His hour went out, or whatever.
Yeah, the Boingo at the airport just ran out. All right, well, boys, I'm done.
That's
enough for tonight.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Thank you both for sitting in with me and keeping me company here. What'd you say,
Jimmy? What are you doing tomorrow night?
Tomorrow
watching
night is watching the draft. Yeah.
Well, we're on. If you want to come on with us, you're more than welcome. Red carpet.
We'll see.
Let me know.
We'll see.
My mother.
Are you doing a?
Brian,
are you going to be on? How long are you going to be on tomorrow night?
Don't believe
the entirety of the first round.
It's just I didn't really feel like doing a show of our own this year because I just feel like it's kind of anticlimactic.
It is.
We go on the air at 7, then you have the draft. Okay, the Rangers pick Lafreniere, and then what? You just sit there. Okay, and you're waiting for number 22. I just didn't feel like we could be interesting for that long.
it's But I expect so much stuff to happen tomorrow. I expect there to be trades. I expect there to be movement. We'll see if I'm right, but
yeah, if we'll see what's going on tomorrow night. Maybe
Let me
I'll pop it. I will text you and let you know.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you both for coming on, sitting in.
Yeah,
It's
man.
been fun, and look forward to the draft tomorrow night. And then we got free agency on Friday, so we'll see what they see what Jeff Gorton's got up his sleeve.
There we go.
Everybody in the chat room, we were jam packed tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And don't forget, all podcasts are on the Apple Podcast app. You can find us on Spotify. You can download the Podbean app. We're there. We're everywhere. We'll see you guys soon. We love you. Take care. Good night, everybody.
Rangers.
Let's go.